Shabbat Emor. The main theme, not the only one, is that of the Kohanim, of the priests. The whole idea of priests in the biblical sense sounds rather strange to us today. The Torah, after all, gives different examples of leadership. Some of them are based on meritocracy, on the personal quality of the individual. So, for example, Moshe did not inherit his position. Joshua did not inherit his position. The prophet was somebody who was not appointed by anybody, who emerged purely on the basis of his or her character. It's interesting that when it came to somebody based on meritocratic qualities, a woman could be a prophet as well. But as against that, you have the aristocracy, you have the idea of the king, the family of King David, and you have the hereditary position of the Kohen, of the priest, which to us seems problematic. And indeed, the history of the priesthood, both in the First Temple period and in the Second Temple period, was not very impressive. They were easily distracted by monetary, by power temptations, and most of them, unfortunately, betrayed their calling. But with many of these ideas that are no longer applicable, like the tribe, like sacrifices, indeed like the priesthood, because it should be borne in mind that we don't know exactly who a Kohen is nowadays. We have the tradition that they are who they say they are, but we are not certain, and even if there are little genetic tests, none of them are 100%, and the tradition is that the Kohanim we have today are kept by rabbinic tradition rather than Torah tradition, and one day when Elijah comes, he'll sort out who really is and who really isn't. But this contrast between the hereditary and, on the other hand, the meritocratic leadership is a very interesting distinction, which implies that the Torah allows for different forms of leadership under different conditions. So what do I derive from the biblical idea of a Kohen? First of all, the firstborn were supposed to be those who serve the community. Since the killing of the firstborn in Egypt, the Bechor was supposed to be the person dedicated to the community, that he had to take responsibility. But as we know, the Kohen took over the role of the Bechor. The Kohen was not supposed to own land in the way that other tribes were, and he had to dedicate himself to the community, which meant that the Kohen wasn't just the person who served in the tabernacle. The Kohen was also the teacher, the educator. He was also the medical expert, the doctor who checked on the state of individuals. He was, in a sense, the civil servant, the person whose job it was to take care of the community and supported by the community in that role. One of the problems we have in our society is that we enable people to get very rich making money for themselves, but we don't pay very well or look after those who have to serve the community, look after the elder, the disadvantaged, the handicapped, the poor, and even teachers are not often paid what they should be. So the idea of the Kohen tells us about the significance and the importance of people dedicating themselves and committing themselves to the needs of the community. And for any healthy society, that is a crucial role. From there, the Torah goes on to talk about the importance of festivals and the importance of our lifestyles. But sustaining our lifestyles has to be the idea that we must work for the benefit of the society in which we live.